Have you ever stopped to think about the real power of running your own website? Not hosted somewhere out there in the cloud, but actually right from your own home.
Yeah, imagine that. Like, no monthly hosting bills. You're not tied to some big tech company.
Exactly. Just your own machine, your setup, your rules, your digital space, totally under your control.
Hmm.
Well, today, that's exactly what we're diving into. We're unpacking a really fascinating piece. It's called Wanderer's Log, hashtag to and home data center day one, a practical POC on a single node.
Ah, the one by Quan Nguyen,
Yeah.
founder of Skill Wanderer.
That's the one. And our mission, really, for this deep dive is to give you a practical shortcut. We want to help you understand the actual, hands-on steps for setting up a proof of concept home server, a POC.
Right, so taking it from just an idea to something real.
Yeah, exactly. How to get a website live, running on just one machine, from the initial plan right out onto the public internet, making it tangible. Okay, so let's unpack this big idea first.
Yeah.
The home data center. When Quan talks about day one, this initial POC, what's that really all about? And why is it so important as a starting point, whether you're experienced or just starting out?
Well, what's really interesting, I think, is how Quan stresses that this single node POC isn't just like a suggestion. He says it's the most vital first step.
Even if you plan something bigger later, like his Kubernetes cluster idea.
Exactly. Even if the grand plan is that complex multi-node Kubernetes setup, the K8s, that big orchestrator for managing lots of software across machines, this day one POC is key.
Okay.
It's pure agile development, right?
Yeah.
Start small, get something working you can actually see and touch, basically.
Right, build that confidence.
Yeah, you can scale it up later if you need to. So this foundation step is so important because it proves the concept is actually feasible.
It works.
It works. It gives you a baseline, and you can learn to iterate really quickly from there.
That makes a whole lot of sense. So, all right, someone's thinking about doing this. What about the hardware? Do you need a super powerful new computer? Or could you maybe dust off an old laptop for this?
The article actually gives some really clear guidelines for picking what Quan calls the star machine.
Okay.
For a test POC, which importantly could become a node in a bigger cluster. Later, you're looking for minimum specs of a 4-core CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, and about a 256 gig SSD.
Okay. That's pretty achievable for many people.
Yeah, and then if you know this project is going to live on this single machine for the long haul, he suggests a bit more power, like an 8-core CPU, 32 gigs of RAM, maybe a 500 gig SSD.
More headroom.
Exactly. And what's great is he points out these kinds of specs are actually pretty affordable these days. So it makes the whole thing feel much more accessible. The idea is you pick hardware that works for the POC, but can scale. That way you're future-proofing a bit without spending a fortune up front.
Avoids that trap of buying too much or too little right away.
Right. You don't want hardware that won't fit where you're going.
Got it. So hardware sorted. The next step is, bringing it alive with software. This is where it gets fun, I think. What OS does Quan suggest getting started with, and what's the very first app we actually deploy?
So the blueprint here is refreshingly straightforward. First step, install Ubuntu desktop, and specifically with the graphical interface, the GUI.
Ah, okay. Not just command line.
Right. And this is really recommended if you're coming from, say, Mac OS or Windows. That familiar desktop makes the initial setup way less intimidating.
Lowers the barrier to entry, right.
Totally. You can focus on the concepts instead of just fighting with a command prompt if you're not used to it.
Makes sense. And then for that first website, what are we actually putting up?
WordPress?
Yeah.
You deploy a WordPress site, and you do it using Docker and Docker Compose.
Okay, Docker. And why WordPress specifically?
It's all about speed and seeing results. WordPress gives you a really quick, easy way to see something tangible. Boom, your own website is live pretty fast.
That instant win feeling.
Exactly, which is great for motivation. But this does bring up the question, how do you actually make that Docker Compose file? And, how much Docker do you need to know just to start?
Yeah, that seems like it could be a hurdle.
Well, it's interesting. Quan actually suggests using modern tools, like maybe an AI assistant, Claude, for instance, to help draft that initial Docker Compose file.
Oh, cool. Like a shortcut to get the config file?
Yeah, a modern shortcut for sure. But, and this is important, he really stresses that you still need to learn the Docker basics yourself.
Right. Don't just rely on the AI blindly.
Exactly. He even hints at a future Skill Wanderer course on Docker, which, aligns perfectly with their whole practical education philosophy.
Yeah, learn by doing.
Absolutely. And if you think about the bigger picture, like modern infrastructure, It's kind of fascinating because Kubernetes these days doesn't actually use Docker directly as its main container runtime.
Oh, really? So is learning Docker still useful for K-8s?
Yeah, totally. The article reassures you that learning Docker now is definitely not a dead end if you're aiming for Kubernetes later. You can make it work using something called cry-dockered.
Cry-dockered. What's that?
Think of it like a bridge or an adapter. It lets Kubernetes talk to Docker, even though it natively prefers other runtimes now.
Ah, okay.
So your Docker knowledge is still super relevant and usable. It just shows how these foundational skills adapt as the tech evolves. What you learn now still has value.
That's really good to know. Okay, so let's say your local WordPress site is running smoothly on Docker on your machine. It looks great on localhost. Now for the big leap, showing it to the world. What's the absolute first step to go live?
Right, the first step, non-negotiable, according to Quan. You need to buy a domain name.
Your own .com or .whatever.
Exactly. He points out that, yeah, you could use a free subdomain from some service, and that might seem easier.
Tempting, maybe.
Right. But for your own brand, whether it's personal or business, having your own dedicated domain name just does more good than harm in the long run. It's your unique address online, establishes identity.
Like getting your own street address versus a P.O. box.
Perfect analogy, yeah.
Okay, domain secured. Now, the networking bit. This always feels like the trickiest part for folks at home. How do you actually connect that server sitting there in your house to the wider internet so people can reach your domain?
Yeah, this is where it gets technical. There are basically two main paths. First, you could get a static IP address from your internet provider.
Where your public internet address never changes.
Right, but that often means getting a business internet plan, which can be, frankly, pretty expensive for home use. Sometimes as much as your entire regular internet bill again.
Ouch. Okay, so what's the alternative?
The much more common way for home users is using a service like Cloudflare Tunnel. It acts as a dynamic DNS or DDNS.
Dynamic DNS. So it handles your home IP address changing.
Exactly. Your home IP might change periodically, but the DDNS service, like Cloudflare Tunnel, keeps pointing your domain name to your server's current IP address. It's like a constantly updated GPS for your website.
Got it. And you mentioned Cloudflare specifically. Quan seems to highlight it. What are the big pluses of using something like Cloudflare, regardless of whether you have a static or dynamic IP?
Oh, the Cloudflare advantages are huge, and the Quan really advocates for it. You get a free SSL certificate.
So HTTPS, secure connections, that's essential now.
Absolutely essential. You also get a web application firewall, a WAF. Think of it like a security guard for your website.
Blocking bad guys.
Yep, blocking malicious traffic, common attacks, before they even hit your home server. Plus, you get caching to speed things up.
By serving content from Cloudflare's network.
Right. And it acts as a proxy, so your actual home IP address is hidden from the public internet.
That's a big security benefit, too.
Huge. So connecting it all together, Cloudflare gives you security, performance, and privacy features that you'd otherwise have to figure out, and maybe even pay for yourself. It's a massive leg up.
Okay, that sounds incredibly useful. Now, before someone flips the switch and goes fully live, there's a reality check needed about their internet connection, right? And it's not just about download speed.
That's exactly right. And it's easy to overlook. The critical factor is your upload speed, especially if you're plugged in with an Ethernet cable.
Upload, how fast does it need to be?
Quan suggests that if your plan gives you around 100 megabits per second or more for uploads, then self-hosting is generally feasible.
Okay.
He mentions his own plan is 1 gigabit per second, which is obviously fantastic for this.
Wow, yeah.
But if you're significantly slower than that 100 megabits upload mark, your website visitors could have a really sluggish experience.
Because your server can't send the website data out fast enough.
Precisely. If your upload is too slow, you might need to look at hybrid solutions or maybe even go back to a cloud provider.
Which means monthly costs again.
Right. So it raises that interesting long-term value question.
Right.
If you're serious about this, maybe upgrading your home internet plan could actually be a better investment than paying cloud fees every month. Worth considering.
Good point. Okay, so it feels like a journey with several steps, but let's talk payoff. If you follow along with this day one build from Skill Wanderer, what are the actual concrete successes? What have you achieved?
It's a massive win.
Yeah.
Seriously, a huge accomplishment. The article spells out 4 key successes that really nail the goal of this day one POC.
Okay, what are they?
1, you've got a working server running a stable, user-friendly OS Ubuntu desktop. 2, You've deployed an application, WordPress, using modern tools like Docker and Docker Compose, so it's containerized, packaged nicely.
Good foundation.
3, and this is the exciting one, you have a live website that anyone in the world can visit using your own domain name.
Awesome.
And 4, you've got a secure setup thanks to that free SSL certificate from Cloudflare, meaning secure HTTPS connections. It's not just theory anymore. It's a real working thing. Your digital home exists.
That really is a huge milestone. Fantastic. So for you, the listener, once you've hit this point, once the POC is up and running smoothly, what comes next? What are the immediate next steps after you celebrate a bit?
Right. Time for phase 2. Quan lays out 3 key next steps. First, the fun part. Actually configure your WordPress site.
Choose a theme, add content, make it yours.
Exactly. Build the actual site you wanted to build. Second, and this is crucial, dive deeper into Docker.
Learn the fundamentals.
Yeah, understanding Docker basics is really a must if you want to go beyond this first setup. Quan really hammers this point, and again, mentions that Future Skill Wanderer course. It just underscores how vital that skill is now.
Okay, and the third step?
Backups. Plan for backups. This is absolutely critical if you plan to keep running things on this single server for a while. You need to protect your data.
Makes sense. But maybe less critical if it's just a temporary test.
He does mention that, yeah. If this POC is purely temporary, before you move to something like Kubernetes, you might defer the backup planning. But for any long-term single-server use, backups are essential.
Got it. Now, this whole series, The Chronicles of a Home Data Center, it's part of the Wanderer's Log, right? Where Skill Wanderer is kind of building its own platform out in the open.
That's right.
How does this practical stuff, this home server build, connect back to Skill Wanderer's bigger mission? It feels very integrated, like they practice what they preach.
It absolutely is. And that's maybe the most insightful part. If you connect the dots, the very technologies we've just discussed, containerization with Docker, managing domains, using Cloudflare for security and access, these are the exact same tools powering the Skill Wanderer platform itself.
Oh, wow. So they're using this stuff for their own services.
Exactly. Quan explicitly says their own home Kubernetes cluster runs their blog, their learning management system, their identity services. Everything.
So it's not just an academic exercise.
Not at all. It's totally central to their educational philosophy. They learn by doing, they build in public, and they share that journey. It proves the real-world value of what they teach because they rely on it themselves.
So Skill Wanderer isn't just like teaching theory from a textbook. They're living it, building their own infrastructure with the tech they cover. That feels pretty unique in tech education.
It really is. Skill Wanderer operates as a nonprofit tech education org, but with this really cool dual approach. They offer high-quality, accessible tech education, sure, but they also run technology services for actual clients aligned with their mission.
Okay, so client work funds the education.
It helps fund the mission, yeah, making it sustainable. But it also serves as a living laboratory.
A living lab?
Yeah. Their real-world work, the challenges they solve for clients, that directly informs and becomes the basis for their educational content, their case studies.
So everything they teach is current, relevant.
And battle-tested, proven in a live environment. It gives their teaching a real depth,
That makes a lot of sense. Quan also mentions using AI for curating content and focusing on unbiased guidance, no ads, no affiliate links. It really underlines that commitment to accessible, practical learning, just trying to, as he puts it, light the way.
Indeed. That philosophy of lighting the way for learners seems genuine, offering free core content, building a supportive community.
Reinvesting resources.
Right, trying to make a lasting impact, help cultivate the next wave of innovators, and the whole Skill Wanderer ecosystem, the Mission Hub, the knowledge base where this article lives, the Learning Dojo for Practice, the upcoming Community Hub, it all ties together. It bridges that gap between learning theory and doing it for real in the industry. It's a pretty refreshing model, actually.
Definitely. So we've really covered a lot today looking at how you can actually launch your own website from just one machine at home, a proper proof of concept.
Yes, starting small, building something real.
Quan Nguyen and Skill Wanderer really show it's not just theory. These are practical, achievable steps if you want to take control of your digital world. So what does this all mean for you listening? Here's something to think about. What's maybe one small step you could take, maybe even today, to turn some idea you have, some theoretical concept, into a real tangible project? Just like building this home server POC.
Yeah, how could you apply that agile idea? Start small, get something working.
Exactly. How could you use these principles, practical execution, hands-on building for something you're curious about, maybe a personal project you've been kicking around? You could start building it right from your own space.
Hmm, food for thought.
Definitely. And we really encourage you to check out the Skill Wanderer ecosystem more. It's a great example of where education meets real-world impact. Their journey shows that, with the right plan, anyone can build their own digital home.